Time passed, but for Kakashi Hatake, the world seemed frozen in twilight. The mask of the ANBU had become his face, the missions, his heartbeats, each night blurred into another. A ceaseless rhythm of killing and obedience. The more he tried to bury his past in the blood of his enemies, the louder the memories screamed behind the porcelain dog mask. Hiasifeisi, her last words, her death by his own hand. No jutsu could erase that wound. Under Danzu's command, Kakashi had learned the meaning of silence. Orders were absolute, emotions forbidden. The ANBU of the root were not people. They were tools carved from loyalty and fear. And yet, amidst that emptiness, a small light appeared. Konoha, the boy, was quiet, disciplined, and gifted with a strange power that would release a remnant of the first Hokage's legacy. Kakashi saw in him something familiar, the loneliness of someone who had never been allowed to choose his own path. Their missions together were efficient, wordless, almost mechanical at first. But in the shadows of those silent nights, a fragile understanding began to grow between them. To lost souls, walking parallel paths through darkness. One night, after a mission gone wrong, Kakashi caught Kino hesitating before delivering a killing blow to an enemy. That hesitation, so human, so forbidden, struck something deep within Kakashi. He remembered the boy he used to be, the one who still believed in comrades, in promises. He didn't report Kino's weakness. Instead, he began to see him not as a weapon, but as a person, a boy searching for a reason to live. But Danzu was always watching. He saw Kino's heart changing, softening, and he didn't like it. So he gave a new order, one that would test both of his tools. Kino was to retrieve Kakashi's Sharingan by any means necessary. When Kakashi received his next mission from the Third Hope, he had no idea that his old comrade was already being sent against him. The two met in the ruins of one of Arakimaru's abandoned hideouts. At first, they fought side by side, cutting through the shadows together, trusting each other as only ANBU could. But as the silence deepened, Kino's gaze changed, the hesitation gone, replaced by duty. His attack came without warning. Kakashi's Sharingan flared. His Chidori screamed. The cave erupted with light and fury. Why? He shouted. We're comrades. Kino's voice trembled. Orders are orders. You killed your friend once. Why hesitate now? Those words pierced Kakashi's chest deeper than any blade. For a heartbeat, the past replayed the field. The blood rinsed lifeless eyes. Rage, grief, guilt, everything collided at once. Kakashi's Chidori stopped a mere inch from Kino's heart. The boy didn't move, didn't resist. He only looked up, tears barely hidden beneath his mask. If you must kill me, he said quietly, then do it as a comrade, not as a tool. The words echoed through the darkness. And for the first time in years, Kakashi felt something stir within him. Humanity. He dropped his hand, his breath shaking. I won't! Not again! Before either could speak again, one of Osamaru's monstrous experiments awoke, a massive serpent that shattered its containment tube and lunged at them. It swallowed Kino whole. Without hesitation, Kakashi dived forward, lightning blazing through his arm. The explosion of blood and venom filled the air, and the serpent collapsed. Kakashi tore Kino free, saving the one he was meant to kill. The poison burned through his lungs, but he didn't care. For the first time in a long while, he'd chosen his own path to protect, not destroy. Kino carried the weakened Kakashi to safety and treated him with trembling hands. He couldn't face Danzu again. Instead, he wrote a note, a confession and a lie in one. He would forge a wooden replica of Kakashi's eye to deceive his master. A final act of defiance. When Danzu discovered the betrayal, his fury was absolute. He unleashed a sealing curse to erase Konoha for good, but fate intervened. Kakashi, having recovered, went straight to the Hokage. He told Harrison everything, the orders, the manipulation, the truth behind Root. Without hesitation, he stormed into Danzu's domain with another ANBU operative, yet determined to save the boy who had reminded him what it meant to have a heart. The battle was swift but brutal. Root agents closed in, trying to silence them, but Kakashi's resolve burned brighter than ever. When Danzu himself appeared, cold and commanding, Kakashi faced him without fear. The old man was ready to end both defective tools until Hirasan arrived. The third Hokage's presence stopped everything. His voice, calm yet firm, cut through the darkness. "Kino will live," he declared. "From now on, he belongs to my ANBU. You will not touch him again." Danzu. For a moment, even Kakashi could sense the faintest warmth in those words. Danzu yielded, though not without a parting threat. The curse mark would remain, but the boy was free enough to start anew. Days later, Kakashi watched as Kino, now renamed Tenzo, stood before the rest of the ANBU. He was nervous, almost shy, but the others welcomed him. Kakashi, silent as ever, placed a hand on his shoulder, a simple gesture yet full of meaning. "Welcome to the team," he said. From that day on, Kakashi continued to serve as a shadow of Konoha, but something inside him had shifted. The endless nights no longer felt quite so hollow. Through Tenzo, through the young faces of new recruits, he began to see the faint light of a future worth guarding. He was still haunted, still broken, but now he fought not to punish himself, but to protect others from falling into the same darkness. The boy who once sought death had become the man who preserved life from the shadows. And though the mask still covered his face, the eyes behind it finally carried a trace of peace. The days inside the ANBU bled together, a haze of darkness and duty. Kakashi Hatake no longer lived for the sunrise. He existed for the mission, for the silence between heartbeats. Every time he returned to headquarters, the same cold corridor welcomed him, lined with masks staring blankly back. His own reflection was among them, expressionless, distant, and endlessly tired. Under Danzu's command, Kakashi's skill was unmatched. His Chidori tore through enemies before they even realized they'd been seen. To the root, he was perfection, efficient, obedient, emotionless. But Hiruzen, and the few who knew the real, Kakashi saw something else. A soul slowly fading under the weight of guilt. The death of Rin still haunted him. Every dream, beginning and ending with her lifeless eyes. Even his Sharingan, that precious gift from Obit, felt more like a curse that forced him to relive the past. It was during one of those missions in the route that he met Kino, the boy who carried Hashirama's would release. A secret weapon molded by Danzu's experiments. Kino was quiet and precise, like Kakashi, but his eyes still held a faint glimmer of innocence. He was a reflection of what Kakashi used to be, a child who believed obedience could heal pain. They worked together in silence. At first, Kakashi didn't speak much to him. Emotions were dangerous within the route. But as they shared missions, infiltrations, and silent nights under a blood-red moon, a subtle bond began to form. Kino admired Kakashi, and Kakashi, though he'd never admit it, began to care for him. Perhaps too much for someone living in the shadows. When Orochimaru's betrayal was uncovered, Danzu saw an opportunity to act in secret. He sent Kakashi and his team to track the rogue Sen, hoping to claim his forbidden research. The mission ended in failure. Orochimaru escaped. But Kakashi's confrontation with him left more than just wounds. Orochimaru's cold, mocking eyes had pierced through his mask. "You wear the face of a killer hat, but you kill yourself a little each time you obey." After that, Kakashi began to question. What was he really serving? Was Konoha still the same village his sensei died to protect? Or had the roots of Danzu's darkness already wrapped themselves around it? When Hiruzen reclaimed control over the ANBU from Danzu, he tried to pull Kakashi back into the light. But Danzu wasn't done with him. In secret, he ordered Kino to retrieve Kakashi's, to take the eye for himself before its power faded. It was an order that would pit two broken souls against each other. They met again during an investigation of another of Orochimaru's hidden laboratories. The air was thick with decay and venom. For a while, they worked as comrades. But as soon as the silence grew heavy, Kino's hand trembled toward his weapon. His mission demanded it. Kakashi's existence was just another obstacle. The first strike came fast. Wood branches erupted from the floor, wrapping around Kakashi's legs. His Sharingan flared, lightning danced in his hand, and the cavern filled with light. Their battle was brutal, raw, desperate. But when Kakashi finally cornered Kano, his Chidori aimed at the boy's chest, he hesitated. "Why?" he demanded. "Why are you doing this?" Kino's mask cracked slightly, his voice low and pained. "Because that's what we are, tools. You of all people should know that." For a long moment, neither moved. The storm outside roared like the past itself, calling out. And then Kakashi's hand faltered. "No," he whispered. "Not anymore. I won't lose another comrade." The words shattered the silence and something inside. "Kino!" The boy lowered his weapon, his eyes softening with a sadness Kakashi knew too well. "Then I've failed my mission," Kano said quietly. "Do what you must." But before Kakashi could answer, the laboratory around them came alive. A massive serpent, one of Orochimaru's failed experiments, burst from its containment tube and lunged. Kino pushed Kakashi aside, but the beast swallowed him whole. Without hesitation, Kakashi dived forward, lightning ripping through flesh and scale, until the serpent exploded in a burst of smoke and poison. He dragged Kino free, coughing, the venom burning through his lungs. As darkness closed in, Kakashi felt the faint pulse of a heart beneath his hands. Proof that he'd saved him. For the first time in years, he'd protected a friend instead of losing one. When he woke, Kino was gone, leaving behind a single note. He couldn't steal Kakashi's eye. He would deceive Danzu with a fake one, instead a wooden replica carved with the same precision he used in battle. It was an act of rebellion, and he knew the price. Danzu's curse mark flared the moment the lie reached him. Kino's body froze as the seal began to devour his life. But Kakashi had already gone to the hook. Harrelson listened, truly listened, and then led him to Root's underground base. Together, Kakashi and another ANBU, Yago, stormed through the corridors. The battle was quick, ruthless. Root agents fell one by one until only Danzu remained, glaring from the shadows. "Konoha cannot survive on kindness," he said coldly. "It needs weapons, not weak hearts." Kakashi stood before him, blood on his armor, eyes blazing. "Then I'll be a weapon that protects, not destroys." Hirusen's arrival ended the standoff. The third Hokage's voice filled the hall, calm, commanding, unyielding. "Kino is under my protection now. From this day forward, he will serve in the ANBU not as your tool, but as a shinobi of Konoha." Danzu's eyes narrowed, but he stepped back. The curse mark would remain, but the boy was free. For the first time, Kakashi saw what leadership meant. Not power, but compassion. Days later, in the ANBU headquarters, Kino, now renamed Tenzo, stood before his new comrades. The others welcomed him quietly. Kakashi approached last. Without a word, he placed a hand on Tenzo's shoulder. "Welcome to the shadows," he said softly. "But don't let them consume you." From that day on, Kakashi served as the silent guardian of the village. No longer just a killer in the dark, but a protector who carried the light of those he'd lost. The nightmares never vanished, but they no longer defined him. He had learned that true strength wasn't in silence or blood, but in the will to keep moving forward even through the darkest night. Behind the mask, the eyes of Kakashi Hatake finally carried peace and purpose. And so, another dark chapter in the story of Kakashi Hatake comes to an end. The young prodigy, scarred by guilt and loss, found a new purpose within the shadows of the AN, slowly turning his pain into strength. Even surrounded by silence, he never stopped protecting. Even behind the mask, his heart remained human. Rin, Obito, Minato, each left deep scars, but also something greater. The will to keep moving forward. Because, in the end, being a ninja isn't about killing or winning, it's about enduring. It's about standing up again, even when the entire world seems to fall apart. Today, looking back, we can see that Kakashi's true power was never his Sharingan. It was his soul. The soul of a man who learned to smile even when pain refused to fade. From the darkness of the ANBU, a guardian of Konoha was born. And ne was Kakashi Hatake.